Do it now. It's worth it. If you've ever even considered starting a YouTube channel, just do it.
Just do it!
If you take away nothing else from this video, let it be that. I'm not kidding when I say that the success of this channel is the craziest thing that has ever happened to me. I started filming videos at the tail end of 2023, sitting awkwardly on my bedroom floor with no equipment other than a ring light and my phone. Now look at me, 2 years later, filming on the bed in my bedroom, still with my phone, but now I also have a microphone clipped to a knitting needle. But seriously, I usually film at a desk. Okay, for real, my relatively short tenure here on YouTube ranks among the most transformative experiences of my life. It did not change my life in the way many creators will claim it does. I'm not suddenly a wealthy woman of renown, but it changed me in measurable and immeasurable ways that will in turn change how I approach everything else I ever attempt to do. Let's start with the technical stuff. Life lesson number 1, effort will be rewarded, but not all effort. Allow me to explain. Of every social media platform I've ever spent any time on, the other ones being Instagram, Substack, and TikTok very briefly, YouTube is the one that is most clear about what exactly it wants. It wants viewers to click on your video, and it wants viewers to watch your video, preferably for the whole duration. These are the 2 things that you need to focus your efforts on, and if you can figure out how to make them happen, you can find success. It's one of those things that it's simple, but it's not easy. In other words, I found that simply spending a lot of time or energy on a video doesn't really matter if I'm not being smart and strategic about where exactly I'm spending that time and energy. A great example is my video from a few months ago on the BBC using an AI-generated likeness of Agatha Christie to teach a writing class. Didn't perform nearly as well as I expected it to, even though I thought I was cooking, which I was. I mean, I'm still proud of my work. But I realized several weeks later that from the original title and thumbnail, I wasn't giving viewers enough context to draw them in unless they happen to already know about the controversy. Like, I knew what the video was about and why it was important, but I wasn't conveying it. Sometimes I like to scroll through the subreddits on YouTubers or small YouTubers, and I see a lot of posts like, oh, why does the algorithm hate me? And frankly, I don't think it does. On YouTube, as in life, putting aside your pride and really taking a hard look at where you can improve and how you can adapt to the ever-changing space that you're in will lead to growth. Every single success I've had on here really has been a direct result of sitting down and asking myself, what can I do better? But working harder is not necessarily the same thing as getting better. All of that said, if I can figure out how to do this YouTube thing, so can you. But if you're intimidated by the production side of video making like I was, then I highly recommend taking a class on Skillshare, who's kindly sponsoring today's video. Skillshare is a creative learning platform with thousands of classes taught by talented, world-class professionals in fields ranging from graphic design and animation to storytelling and photography. When I started my channel 2 years ago, I had never used a video editing software before, and if I had been a Skillshare member back then, I could have learned editing from an expert and saved myself dozens of hours of stress and confusion. Recently, I've wanted to get better at color grading, so I took a color grading for filmmaking class on Skillshare. The instructor explained the process so clearly with a ton of examples, and you're seeing my results on the screen right now. Here's a before and an after. So if you're ready to master a new skill, the first 500 people to scan this QR code or click the link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare plus 20% off their first payment. Skillshare has been an invaluable resource for me, and I think it can be for you too. However, growth is not everything, and in fact is not all it's cracked up to be. There are a bazillion videos on YouTube with titles like, get your first 10,000 subscribers in 1 week, or how to blow up your channel overnight. And maybe that advice works sometimes, but at what cost? I've had 2 distinct instances of the channel blowing up, which I'm defining as a sudden spike in views and subscribers. The first of which was my radical unschooling and the perils of illiteracy video that I posted in September of 2024. That was a video that got me monetized, which was amazing, and I think I went from like 700 to 5,000 or so subscribers in the span of 2-ish weeks. The problem was that at the time I didn't really have a clear vision of what direction I wanted this channel to take other than bookish. So then I found myself with all of these new subscribers who came here for one video, which was a trending topic video essay, and I knew that wasn't the only thing I wanted to do, so now what? Now, I don't regret that that happened at all, and in fact, plenty of you watching this right now probably found me through that video, but it did underscore that vanity metrics might serve your ego, but they don't necessarily serve your purpose. Conversely, with the more recent self-defense against brain rot blow up, by that time I had finally figured out what I want this space to be, and everything came together. Plus, with greater numbers comes a greater pressure to perform and produce, which I do not do well with. So for that reason, I'm happy to have slower and steadier growth for the foreseeable future. Like, I love this community to grow stronger instead of wider. And on that note, my final technical lesson is simply balance. As I swiftly learned, but didn't really put into these exact words until recently, content creation has no inherent work-life balance. You never truly clock out, especially if you treat this as a business instead of a hobby. Therefore, I've found it's imperative to enforce my own boundaries. Things like no working after a certain time, stop responding to comments after a certain number of days, no business emails on the weekends. Don't get me wrong, I so wish I could just pause time and respond to every comment, message, email, and it stresses me out that that is impossible, and that there are limits to what I can reasonably accomplish every day without burning out. Because this is a one-woman show. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that. I am the only person doing any of this. I've seriously had to sit myself down and say, Joe, you are not a horrible person for not being Superwoman. I'm very much still learning this lesson, and in fact, one of my goals going forward into 2026 is to truly let go of the guilt for not accomplishing what it is not possible to accomplish. And now it's time to get sappy with the emotional stuff. Because ultimately, the how to be a YouTuber lessons were not the most important or transformative things I've learned in my time here. First and foremost, building this channel and the community around it reminded me that there are some really, really good people in the world. That's you. Congratulations. I've alluded to my mental health struggles here and there, mostly over on my Substack. But during the shutdown, particularly 2020 to 22, without going into the details, I was at the lowest point of my life. And I often felt like the entire world was against me, and I started thinking maybe people really are inherently cruel and evil. And the tricky thing about depression is I knew in my brain that that wasn't true, but it still felt true, and that's all that really mattered to me. And I was extremely isolated during this time, like, truthfully, more so than most. Like, I'm talking, I did not leave my house for a year and a half, unless it was to go to my mom's house. So I was just festering in this vacuum of anger and resentment. Jump to starting this channel, and lo and behold, people were really nice. Not just nice, but genuinely kind, thoughtful, sympathetic. You are truly cool and lovely people, and the world needs more of you. I went in fearing the worst. Part of me really thought that every comment would be like, you're stupid and ugly and I hate you, which has never happened. Actually, except in the unschooling and my very first Neil Gaiman video, which ended up in the wrong audiences, and the comments got weird real fast and I left. But that's also like not the people whose opinions I care about. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being you and setting my worldview back on track. On the flip side of that is the massive increase in self-confidence and the discovery that I am not as incapable as I thought I was. So in addition to the aforementioned depression, I've also struggled with the social anxiety disorder for pretty much my entire life. Thankfully, it is not anywhere near as bad now as it was in my teenage and college years, and technically, I no longer qualify.
You know what that is? It's gross.
But at its height, I didn't talk unless I absolutely had to. In retrospect, I don't really know what exactly I was so terrified of. Did I really think that an entire classroom of students and the teacher would encircle me and point and laugh? Probably not, but maybe. But I do know that at its core it was a self-esteem issue, feeling like nothing I could say had any value, or thinking that none of my thoughts were smart enough or good enough. The irony is that I have a lot of thoughts, hence the channel name, and I've secretly always wanted to share them publicly. So if you're wondering, why would an anxious person start a YouTube channel? Of all things, it's actually been a surprisingly safe space to practice sharing and expressing my thoughts because I have all the control. I mean, specifically on my end, I can script and edit and do multiple takes of ad-libbing things if I need to, like I'm doing right now. And as it turns out, to my shock and awe, people liked my thoughts. I have the urge to say, oh, it's not about validation, but yes, it is. I think sometimes it's okay to want the external validation of people saying, we like what you're doing, and to admit that it feels nice. We're human, we like that. And the positive feedback, the lovely interactions I've had with many of you, the sheer fact that as of today, almost 63,000 people clicked a button that said, yes, I want to hear more from this person, has helped me believe that I'm worthy of a place in this world, and that is invaluable. And lastly, to get a bit more macro, all hope is not lost. If you spend any time in the arts, literature, humanities space, then you are bombarded with messages like illiteracy is rampant, the humanities are dead, universities are crumbling, AI is coming for all our jobs, etc. It's not that these sentiments are baseless or unfounded, because they're not at all, but I often think that we give fear and negativity too much credence and then write off hope and positivity as naive, which is itself naive. All of that is to say, in the past 2 years, I've found a veritable plethora of people who are doing incredible work in promoting a love of language and thought and curiosity to the masses. And perhaps more importantly, they're finding an audience. I suspected when I posted my self-education video that it would perform well, but I did not expect, ever, 1.2 million views in 3 months. Well, as of today, almost 1,300,000 people, which is approximately the entire population of Estonia, yes, I looked it up, saw self-education is the best defense against brain rot and said, yes, I want to know more. I truly believe we're in the nascent stages of a cultural renaissance. Adam Walker has a phenomenal video and essay on this, I'll link them in the description, because people are tired of the screens and the slop and the mainstream media. They and we know something is wrong, and they want to engage with great art and to think again. Hell, even teenagers who've never lived in a world without smartphones are nostalgic for an analog past they never experienced. And it occurred to me while I was scripting this that would my education video have been as successful if I posted it 10, even 5 years ago? Maybe in 2020, but at that point we were only just getting into the brain rot of it all. I think TikTok was only just popping off at that point. I don't think it would have, and that is a great sign. I choose to believe, delusionally perhaps, that a better future is in store, and it's people like us who are going to build it. And finally, what you nosy people really want to know, and it's okay because I'm also nosy people, how lucrative is YouTube really? Specifically for a small, amateur, part-time creator who has no employees and works on a next to nothing budget. So I got monetized on October 7th of 2024. And from October 7th all through December of 24, from ad revenue alone, I made $1,828.54. And then from January to November 17th, which is today, of 25, I earned $9,483.99 from AdSense. So my first year and 1 month of income on YouTube totaled $11,312.53, which I actually did not look at my lifetime income analytics until this video, and I did not know it was that much. Like, seeing it all together is crazy. The majority of that ad revenue did come from my 2 most popular million view plus videos, because of course it did, and the best months that I had aligned with when I posted them, because of course they did. My very best month ever was this past September, when the channel earned over $3,000. And the lowest month was this past April with just 95, but I also didn't post at all that month. So yeah. So doing the math on all of that, my average monthly income was approximately $870. Let's be honest, that's not nothing. And I am immensely grateful for all of the assistance this platform has given me, especially because it's not guaranteed, and finding financial success here is a privilege. Obviously, the AdSense alone is not enough to live on, but it is breathing room. I don't talk about my personal life on here much for various reasons, but if I may get a wee bit more vulnerable than I was a few minutes ago, after the pandemonium and the subsequent mental health crisis, I've found myself less financially stable than I would like to be. I did not start a YouTube channel thinking it would be a gold mine, and money has never been my primary reason for being here, but any extra help is huge for me. Like, in the beginning of this year, my dog had an ear infection, and the AdSense made her vet bill and her treatment not be a burden. Now, on the flip side, let's also be honest that given the sheer number of hours I put into this channel, this probably doesn't crack minimum wage. Regardless, $870-ish a month is real money. And YouTube is the only platform who gives back to its creators, who are the very reason the platform exists, to this degree. The income combined with the priceless personal growth and the connections to beautiful humans like yourselves at a time when I needed it most makes every second I've spent here worthwhile. So thank you, truly. Language fails to express just how much I appreciate every little bit of your support. Well, that is it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this little peek behind the Thought Couture curtain. One of my plans for 2026 is to start sharing more of my personal path and process, as well as the reality of being a writer and creator in the world. So this video was like a dipping my toe into that pool. Let me know in the comments if you've ever considered starting a YouTube channel or Instagram page or what have you, if you've ever thought about sharing your creative work on a public platform. And if you want to, but haven't, what's stopping you? Reminder, you can find my writing and more educational and literary content on my Substack. And you can also follow me on Instagram and Goodreads, where I post fun stuff sometimes. And thank you so very much for spending your time with me today and every day. And I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.